Rare earth, it's a band, yes, but it's also something that's very important to the politicians north and south of the border. Mark Lackey is a VP, Executive VP of CHF Capital Markets. Mark, good to see you.
It's good to be here,
We
Pat.
often look at metals with you, but this came up on a political front, so I thought we'd talk about it with you. What is rare earth?
Yeah, Pat, interestingly enough, we were involved in some rare earth financings a few years ago when there was a spike up in prices, and then people realized China had enough supply and the prices went back down. But the rare earth elements, or rare earths as they're called, they're kind of the periodic table from 57 to 71. The lights are 57 to 63. The heavies are 64 to 71. And what people have to realize is they're very strategic in areas like consumer electronics, computers, some renewable energy, and in particular medical technologies, your MRIs. You couldn't have an MRI without some of the heavy rare earths that are available.
Oh, really? Okay.
So the real problem is the light rare earths are fairly common. Most people aren't too concerned. The heavy rare earths, of course, China has 95% of those.
95%?
95% of the world
Almost all of
market.
them around the world.
Yeah, basically all the mines are pretty much in China. So people are concerned that, look, if Chinese growth keeps going and they add more to their medical system and their consumer, and plus these are important uses in some of the defense, particularly airplanes, F-35s in the United States, for example, are using Chinese magnets right now, which does contravene U.S. law. So we've seen recently, both in Canada and the U.S. in the last 2 weeks, concern that these heavy rare earths, 3 or 4 of them, how are we going to make sure there's enough of them in the world down the road? Because being that they're minor metals, we know what's going on in China and uranium and all kinds of other metals, but we really don't know the supply-demand balance. And I'm not so worried about the Chinese saying, hey, we're going to, squeeze the rest of the world. It's not going to be the case, but what we don't know is...
How do you know it's not going to be the case?
I don't think in this particular government, unlike the days of Mao, I don't see the Chinese doing things like that like they once did. I think they're more concerned about having good growth throughout the rest of the world because it's in their self-interest.
Right.
But on the other hand, if they do start to run out, they're going to worry about their own supply needs first than they are the rest of the world. So I think that's the concern people have, is that at some point, are we going to have problems in, say, dysprosium, uridium, terbium, in those markets that we really need for, as I said, a number of significant uses?
Okay, so if the Chinese have 95%, what are prices doing right now?
That's the interesting thing. A few years ago, prices ran up fairly significantly when people had concerns, and then people recognized China had more supply than we thought. So the prices aren't exactly booming. The heavies are worth more than the lights. And right now, the people that we're going to mention can all make money. But I guess the real concern is, will we get another spike up in the next few years? Because Chinese demand keeps growing. We know that. How fast, it's difficult to say, because I don't know how many MRI machines they're building in China these days, but my guess is quite a few. And China is expanding their military.
Can we find it? Can't we find these rare earths as kind of a byproduct of a copper mine or an iron mine or something along those
Typically,
lines?
they've been found with uranium in the past.
Yeah.
The real issue, though, Pat, is when we look around North America, we used to have about 150 people looking for rare earths a few years ago, and now we're down to about 15. Basically, the market's determined that there's only a select number of people that have the right grade, that have the right volume, and have the right metallurgy, because these things aren't that easy to separate. So at the end of the day, you really are down now to the guys that are serious and have the capabilities to move forward. And of course, those people that are in, say, North America and Sweden are really the people that those governments are trying to push forward.
Okay, so you've got a couple of names. Matamek Explorations.
Yeah, Matamek's in Quebec. I see them in production in 2016. It's largely a heavy rare earth play, good management, and a good jurisdiction. I would like to also point out that my #1 uranium play, Forum, has the property right beside them. People forget that sometimes, that they also are involved in heavy rare earths in that area.
Okay.
The next one we like is Quest.
Quest
and again,
Rare Minerals.
Quest Rare Minerals is one that, for disclosure purposes, I did help finance in a previous life at Pope. And they have got excellent management. I've dealt really closely with them. It's open pittable. Again, probably sometime in the next 2 or 3 years, they have a chance to be a pretty good sized player in the heavy rare earth market.
Okay. Tasman Metals.
Again, Pat, one that's out of Sweden. Now the head offices are actually in Canada. The operations are in Sweden. The EU likes this project because the EU has the same concerns about other sources of rare earths other than just China. And again, they've moved along to the part now where they definitely have the metallurgy solved.
Okay, and then Ucore Rare Metals.
Ucore, again, for disclosure purposes, another one I help finance at Pope. I know the management really well, Pat. It's a very well-run operation. It's one that the Alaskan government's pushing. Of course, the Alaskan senator has been very key. She's been very key in this whole rare earth debate in the United States, and it's now bipartisan. The Democrats have joined the Republicans to support these kinds of projects, which means permits get done faster. You get your work done quicker. And again, I see these guys as having a significant rare earth project, heavy rare earths, and they're right on the ocean.
Nuesco?
Yeah, Nuesco is one that is a client of ours, and they have a property in Ontario. I would say that Nuesco is a little more behind the curve, but it is one that people definitely should consider in terms of a property possibility in the next number of years.
Okay. Now, I don't hear you recommending any of those. You were involved in the past with these things.
I would say, Pat, that if I was to say, look, of all the people that are out there, the people we just all mentioned have the ability to go forward and actually be successful. So I would say that, you know, if I started to see evidence that we start seeing rising prices in these heavy markets, in these heavy metal markets, these are certainly companies I would be putting on my radar screen and looking. And I do follow them, Pat, on a fairly regular basis, because I think that their day will come again. I mean, I recognize we had the spike a few years ago, and they ran up significantly and have come back down, but the underlying factors haven't changed. And so I would say that, formally I would say that these would be companies I would be putting on my radar screen and recommending that people should at least be aware of in the heavy end of the market.
Yeah, a little bit of a heads up on that thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they're a rare find.
The heavy ones are difficult to find, Pat, no question, and to mine them. And so we've got the guys here that we think can go forward.
That's why they call them rare earth.
Exactly.
Mark, great to have you here.
Great to be here, Pat.
See you next week. Mark Lackey, CHF Capital, joining us. Quick break.